Ballhawks.
The ball is caught. Game over, baby. Touchdown. The game is over. They are going nuts at Century League.
Hey und herzlich willkommen zum offiziellen Podcast der German Seahawks. Heute mit Jonas.
Ein saftiges Servus, Grüezi und Hallo zu einer neuen Folge Ballhawks. Die Offseason ist im vollen Gange und es gibt uns tatsächlich noch. Und mit uns meine ich nicht nur mich, den Jonas, sondern heute habe ich mir auch als erstes zumal den Thomas eingeladen. Hallo Thomas.
Servus, Gude und Hallo, und wir melden uns aus dem Off und das tun wir nicht alleine, denn dem Jonas ist eine granatenmäßige Idee eingefallen, wie wir uns verstärken können und aus erster Hand Informationen von vor Ort einholen können, nämlich...
Genau, wir haben hier uns überlegt, was machen wir in der Offseason und haben dann ein kleines Projekt angefangen und wollen uns jetzt auch über die nächsten Wochen und Monate Gäste einladen, ehemalige Spieler, Podcaster aus der Szene und auch das nicht nur aus Deutschland, sondern tatsächlich auch aus den USA. Und deshalb wundert euch nicht, wenn wir gleich auf einmal nicht mehr Deutsch, sondern Englisch sprechen. Denn heute haben wir uns tatsächlich einen Podcaster aus den USA eingeladen, den ich sehr schätze. Das ist der gute Jackson Bevins von Cigar Thoughts. Der macht sehr interessante Recaps auch von Spielen, schreibt da immer so seine Gedanken auf. Und hat tatsächlich auch in seinem Podcast bekannte Gäste wie Mina Keims zu Gast. Und wir gehen einfach mal in das Gespräch über und hören uns gleich auf Englisch wieder. Yeah, as you see, we switched languages. Now we're talking in English because we have a guest, and I'm pretty excited. We're pretty excited here at the Ballhawks-Podcasts, our little humble German abode of the Seahawks here. Without further ado, Jackson Bevins, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, just we see it already. We're excited to talk ball with you. And the first thing is I think not a lot of people know you here in Germany. So
we should change that.
Yeah. We are definitely going to do it. Yeah, how did you fall in love with the Seahawks? And the second thing, what's up with the cigars?
Okay, all right. Two very good questions. So to answer the first one, I'm from Bellingham, Washington, which is a city about an hour and a half north of Seattle. And my mom is a huge football fan, and I was born the day before the Seahawks season opener in 1983. And my parents didn't own a television at the time. And so they paid to stay in the hospital one more day so that I could watch my first Seahawks game.
Okay.
Even though my eyes weren't open yet. And so, I actually was almost up until the day I was born, I was going to be named Marcus because Marcus Allen was my mom's favorite player. And then, sadly, my grandfather, Jack, passed away shortly before my birth. So I never got to meet him, but they named me Jack's son. And that was cool too. But so all that to say, my mom's a huge football fan. And because of where I was born, it was always kind of the Seahawks. As far as the cigars go, I started getting into them just recreationally because my father smoked cigars, and you're growing up, you want to be like him. I was 19, and so I'm saving up $8 to go buy 5 shitty cigars at the grocery store, and be like my dad and all that. And then and I liked it, but I didn't know what I was missing on until shortly after college. I was living with some buddies at a place in town and was smoking a cigar out on the porch, and the neighbor came over. He's like, "You like cigars?" And I was like, "Yeah." What are you smoking? I showed him. He's like, No. You cannot be smoking this. Come on over. I walk in. He's got this whole room dedicated to cigars. He's got 100 different types of cigars in there. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome." He gives me one to try. That was nicer. And I was like, "Oh, this is way better." It's like when you go from drinking shitty tequila when you're young, and then you're like, "Oh God, but hey,
It's just tough.
at least it's getting me drunk. And then you try nice tequila and you're like, oh, okay, I can't really go back to that other stuff. That's how it was. And so then I really started to like explore the cigar experience. And anyway, not to belabor the point, but when I started writing about the Seahawks and the stuff I was writing started to get more traction, I was like, okay, I need something searchable here. Like if people are wanting to find my articles, there's a million Seahawks articles out every week. What's something that stands out? And I was like, okay, well, what's unique about this experience for me? And I would always, after the game, smoke a cigar, think about what I wanted to write, and then write. And so I called it, Seahawks Cigar Thoughts. And that gave people something to kind of key in on if they were looking for my stuff. And then I noticed in the comment sections, people were asking about the cigars I was smoking and almost as much as the game. And I was like, oh, okay, so I started including a little section on the cigar at the end. And then that led to a cigar sponsorship, which led to an even better cigar sponsorship, which ultimately led to me releasing my own line of cigars. And so I'm fully into it now.
Awesome. Fully committed. Yeah.
I'm fully committed, man.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I listened to you, or I first started reading your cigar thoughts, I think 2017, something like that. And then I started going into the podcast. Yeah. And I love it. So
that's cool, man. Thank you. Yeah. That's very cool.
So happy to have you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Obviously, we have to get into the nitty gritty.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's an off season like we haven't seen in 14 years.
That's right.
So obviously we have to start with the big one, like January 10th, 2024. Obviously, the biggest Seahawks-related event of the season because we had to say goodbye to Pete Carroll. There were the rumblings in the fan base, and between experts, that it might be time for Pete to retire, get fired,
right?
Because the defense changed in the last couple of years. Like I think they were 31st in run defense in 2023. And it was the apple of Pete's eye, the defense, and obviously it didn't work out. And a funny thing is, I went on the radio here in Germany, I think January 9th, and I insisted that either Pete had to retire or get fired by Jody Allen, and I said I didn't believe in any of it. And a day later, all came crashing down. So from that being said, listening to Cigars Thoughts, I always got the impression that you liked Pete, obviously, and you always were telling people, be mindful, careful what you wish for when he might be gone. You don't know what's coming afterwards. So were you surprised that it did happen the way it did? And how did you feel seeing Pete walk out of the BMAC?
I was surprised, only because I thought that it was going to happen on Pete's terms. With Jody Allen essentially being the caretaker of Paul Allen's estate, there's wording in his will that basically says she has to sell the team.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I don't think Jody's going to be the one who swings the axe. I think she's going to let Pete do his thing. The thing you got to remember is Carroll was not just the head coach. He was the VP of football operations. He was a C-suite executive of a $5 billion franchise. You're creating more than just a hole at coach when you move on from Pete Carroll. And I was like, I just don't see Jody doing that. And she'll let whoever the next owner is figure out what they want to do. Also, I figured they just let Pete call his shot and decide when he was done. So I was a little surprised from that standpoint. As it set in, I was sad but ready for it.
Okay.
I've been ready for it for a couple of years. If he was going to be the coach again this year, I would have been cool with that for sure. But it does, from a pure football standpoint, it does make sense. It felt to me like the game from a strategic and schematic standpoint started to pass him by in about 2017.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a lot since then to convince me otherwise. It seems like the gap between how Pete Carroll coaches and how the best teams in the NFL are coached continued to get wider. That said, he has the best vibes in the league. And those vibes keep you winning 9 games every year.
Yeah.
And as much as everyone wants to complain about 9 wins, man, there's a lot of teams out there that would take 9 wins as a floor every single year and not fucking hate their team for 6 months every year. So I could see it both ways. So that night I wrote a tribute to Pete Carroll and actually cried while writing it, which I've never done before outside of when I wrote the recap of the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl back in 2013. Well, I guess it would have been 2014, January.
2014, yeah.
I actually teared up a little bit writing this article and realized how big of an impact Pete Carroll had on me, not just as the coach of my favorite football team, but as a man, as a husband, as a professional. I mean, I read his book a number of times. I wrote out his version of the Pyramid of Success by hand and framed it and put it on my wall and look at it every day. And I was like, man, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
He's gone. But they had a plan. And the number one guy that I wanted them, because my whole thing was, if you're going to move off of Pete Carroll, don't do it for a Dan Quinn or a Mike Vrabel type, because I think that's just the same type of food, just a different brand. Like, go for something big, go for something different. And I think Mike Macdonald is the sharpest, most cutting edge defensive mind in the NFL right now. And the fact that they waited all the way until before the Super Bowl for him to be available while everyone else is hiring these other candidates showed some conviction that I think was really impressive. So all in all, I'm super happy. If you offered me at the end of last year, you said you can have Pete Carroll next year or Mike Macdonald, I would have said Mike Macdonald. The thing that had me a little bit nervous about it was you fight Pete Carroll and you don't know what's coming in next. But now that they got the guy, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, like you mentioned it, I'm totally with you on that one. One pretty cool thing was Max, one of our guys, wrote as you did, wrote a piece about Pete after he was let go, and his last sentence in his article was, "If there was a Hall of Fame for humans, Pete Carroll would certainly be in it."
That's great.
I find it pretty fitting, because that pretty much encapsulated what Pete was or is. We're always talking about him if he's gone, but he's not, obviously.
right.
What he is as a coach, as a people's person, players person, and do you think that was evident? The NFLPA put out a report card a couple of days ago about how the franchises are run, and the Seahawks got an A in the head coaching category, and I think that pretty much speaks for itself, like how Pete was.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't surprised. I was really, really happy to see that. I think the poll was taken between August and November of the season, and so a lot of these guys on the team, I think there were a lot of players from early in Pete's career that by the end were kind of over it for whatever reason, right? There were interpersonal issues between Pete Carroll and Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch and Michael Bennett and Earl Thomas and Russell Wilson very publicly. Yeah. And so, and I think that some of that, honestly, is those guys didn't know how good they had it with Pete. Like, after a while, you do start to tune out the kind of rah-rah stuff. But, so I get that, and I don't hold it against any of the players to just be like, this is getting a little cheesy or whatever. But on this roster, you have a bunch of guys where Pete Carroll is all they've known, or they've come over from bad organizations. You look at the safeties. Quandre Diggs came over from the Matt Patricia Detroit Lions. Jamal Adams came over from the Jets, who are, terrible franchise. You had Uchenna Nwosu coming over from a really poorly run franchise in the Los Angeles Chargers. And so, these guys, they've either all they've known is Pete Carroll or they're coming from a worse situation. So I wasn't super surprised to see that, he got the A on that, and I was really happy to see it too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and then we came to January 31st, I think, and yeah.
Yeah. And then we had Mik Macdonald. You'd mentioned already that you are pretty happy with the hiring. Switching from the oldest head coach to the youngest head coach, 36 years. That's a pretty clash of cultures. He led the Ravens to a beast of a defense.
Oh my gosh!
So, what are your first thoughts when you heard that Mik Macdonald will be the next head coach and not, as you said, kind of a Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel?
Yeah. I think. I'll tell you what I think, but I'm curious. What was your guys' reaction when you found out that they hired Mik Macdonald? Like, Thomas, how'd you feel?
My first thoughts were like, you need to be something new in this organization. Like that, they lost their edge and their idea of playing the ball. So they were not able to run the ball, to defend the run game. So, and I said, either you're stuck with really something new or you try something like Vrabel, in my opinion. So that I was 50-50 and I said, okay, let's try it. But
I'm 100% right there with you. Like, I think if you're going to do it, you got to swing big. And I think Mik Macdonald was the biggest swing you could take in this coaching cycle. Yeah, that was really exciting. And, they gave him a big 6-year contract. Like, you really do get the sense that they're going to let him build a program.
Yeah,
definitely. Time for a rebuild.
Yeah,
not yet.
Chiming in there, like myself, I'm seeing you got McVay and Shanahan in your division. I think it's the right way to go. Not just the question was, do you want to, like, the NFL goes offensive right now, so it's an offensive league, it's a quarterback league. And the question was, do you want to hire like the third best offensive head coach in the division?
In the division, right?
Well,
yeah.
Do you want to sign the best defensive head coach, like to cancel those guys out? And I love it too. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and the way that his former coaches and players talk about him, you don't get the sense that this is some hotshot Cliff Kingsbury type that's just like young and cool and whatever. Like, that's all good, but it's like, this is a dude who is obsessed with the details of football, who is obsessed with maximizing matchups, and he's young enough that he hasn't spent 30 years coaching a certain way. He's super sharp. He graduated magna cum laude in finance from I forget which Ivy League school. He was going to go be a day trader. Like, this is a really, really sharp guy. And to do that job well, you have to be willing to pivot quickly with new information. And I think there's a big overlap between that and the NFL. So, I like the process behind the hire. We'll see. Maybe he'll suck. We all thought Brandon Staley was going to be an awesome head coach for the Chargers, and he sucked. Yeah. So I'm not like saying Mik Macdonald is, headed for the Hall of Fame or anything. I'm just saying, like, the early returns are good, and I think the process behind hiring him was good.
Yeah, it's a process. You mentioned it, and also what we will see next season is the mighty John Schneider. So he earns a lot of competence with Pete Carroll's now gone. So what are your expectations in collaboration between the new head coach and the new mighty John Schneider? Is it realistic from your point of view to expect the season like 9 or 10 wins, or do you say the process will take much more time than we think maybe?
It's a great question. With the caveat that obviously there's a lot of roster decisions to be made, right? We don't know if Leonard Williams or Jordan Brooks or Quandre Diggs or Jamal Adams or Tyler Lockett are going to be on this team. But assuming they keep most of those guys, and I think that they will, and assuming they get some contribution from free agents and this year's draft, I think they're primed if the defense is better, I see no reason why the offense should be any worse. I think we saw the offense's floor last year with Geno at quarterback, the 2 running backs that they have, the 3 receivers that they have. When the offensive line was hurt, they weren't that good. When the offensive line was healthy, they were like a top 5 offense. And so I expect the offense to be a top 10-ish offense this year. If Mik Macdonald can get the Seahawks from a bottom 5 offense to like a league average or defense to a league average defense, then yeah, I think 9 wins is a conservative estimate. I would bet right now, if I had to pick a number and I get a bunch of money if I get exactly right, I would guess 10 wins for the Seahawks next year.
Ooh, let's go. So it's a pretty new coaching staff. So everyone seems to be fired, but not everyone. Only Carl Scott remains from the Carroll staff. So Macdonald signed because Seahawks were willing to give him a new clean slate. What do you think? Is it possible to say, okay, let's fire the whole house and burn it down and just restart everything? Is it easier?
Yeah. I think so. And it's not uncommon when you hire a new head coach that they come in and it's like, I want my guys. Now, the difference here is you don't have an established head coach. But I know that Schneider said when he brought in Mik Macdonald, part of the deal was, we're going to let you pick your staff. And it's just, look, it's the nature of the business. These coordinators, unless you're like really a top level coordinator to the point where you're getting your own head coaching interviews, if you're a Shane Waldron, you're tied to your coach, right? Yeah. If you're a Sanjay Lal and you're a wide receivers coach, you're tied to the head coach. And so head coach gets fired, they get scattered to the wind, and they're all looking for their next job. I think that's pretty common. And honestly, I'm glad there's not a lot about the position, like outside of the natural talent that the Seahawks have. I think they've done a really good job of acquiring talent over the last 3 seasons or so. There's not a lot I see where I'm like, this is an extremely well-coached offensive line or an extremely well-coached receiving core or an extremely well-coached secondary. So there was nothing that I was really like, oh, please keep this guy. I was fine with let the new guy have a clean slate.
Yeah,
but counterpoint with that, there's going to be some learning, right? Yeah. I don't necessarily think these guys are going to come out of the gate just everything clicking. They're going to have to learn each other and learn how to communicate in game and chain of command and all that stuff.
Yep, it will also take some time. And new guys in town, we know that Mik Macdonald is a defensive-minded head coach, but he also will bring a new assistant head coach for the defense. It's Leslie Frazier. Do you think he's more than a mentor for him, or do you think he will bring more advices for him? What do you think about his role in the organization?
Wow, what a great question. So I was really excited about them hiring Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator. I think the only thing I was more excited about was them bringing in Leslie Frazier. And at first I was like, okay, he has like this really remarkable track record as defensive coordinator. What he did with the Bills defense was insane. Yeah. I was like, okay, that seems a little superfluous. If you're not bringing him in to be defensive coordinator, he's assistant head coach, defensive head coach. So maybe he's going to, help kind of blend the Leslie Frazier defense with the Mik Macdonald defense so that it doesn't get stale, doesn't get figured out. But then I learned that Frazier has been a mentor to Macdonald for a long time. And Leslie Frazier has been through the get promoted essentially from defensive coordinator to head coach. And he didn't do great. And to have someone in your ear that you already have a mentor-mentee relationship with who says like, hey, here's what I wish I had known when I was a head coach for the first time. Here's what to look out for. Like, to me, that is super exciting because when you go from coordinator to head coach, it's like promoting your best salesperson to CEO or your HR director, your human resources director to CEO or your best, accountant to CEO. It is a totally different deal. There is so much more within the scope of your responsibilities that you have to be aware of. And to me, having someone who's been there, even if it isn't from the outside looking in considered a successful stint, he can say, look, here's how I fucked up. Like, here's what I wish I knew. Let me tell you this right now.
Yeah, good point of view. We also have a European coach in the Seahawks organization.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Ooh, funny question. Do you mind his British accent? And another question, what role do you see for him in the team?
Okay, so to answer the first question first, we were actually just talking about this on my podcast yesterday, and I think it just came out this morning. And we were talking with Corbin Smith, who's one of the beat reporters for the Seahawks and a former football coach himself. And we were talking about how the accent might actually make what he says more memorable, right? Because all these guys have like 4 or 5 coaches in their ear every day. No. And so you might like remember the British accent more, when you're thinking back through everything that happened in practice or in the film study. But as far as his role, what he got out of, he was a defensive line specialist in Dallas. And what we saw from, obviously there's a lot of talent there. And you can say, well, yeah, of course you have Michael Parsons. How bad can your defensive line be? A lot of those guys really credit the coaching of Adenderde to being as good as they are. I mean, it's one thing to acquire talent. It's another thing entirely to maximize it. And I think that's something that Seattle's been missing a great deal. They've done a good job of talent acquisition the last couple of years. I don't think they've done a great job of maximizing that talent. And that's what Mik Macdonald has done. That's what Adenderde has done. And Macdonald, in his initial press conference, he talked a lot about, hey, I'm going to be the defensive coordinator. Like, we're going to hire a defensive coordinator, but I'm going to call those plays until someone earns the right to call those plays for me. So I think Derde's impact is going to be most notable, at least this first year, in how well he can get the defense to really commit to the scheme and learn it and drill down on the details. And I'm sure he'll have some input on play calls on Sunday. And Mik Macdonald may get to a point by the bye week where he's like, you know what, shit, this is a lot. Now I'm thinking about timeouts. I'm thinking about 4th down decision-making. I'm thinking about offensive personnel. Like, it actually would be great to have someone call these plays for me. But I think initially we're going to see Derde's impact Monday through Saturday as opposed to on Sundays.
I think
he's so excited to start.
Yeah, definitely. It was like pretty evident in the process because you don't have a lot of like NFL experience in the coaching
That's
staff,
right.
and Dirty was in his press conference. His press conference was awesome. He was just so willing to learn and in this new role, and I think it's perfect for him that Macdonald is calling the plays and he gets to learn, and I think that's a pretty good fit, and you see the plan behind all of that. Like he has to put together his first coaching staff. He doesn't have a coaching tree right now.
That's right.
So putting it all together, I think it's what excites most fans right now. And speaking of new coaches, we finally have a Harbaugh in the house.
Yeah, we got a Harbaugh.
Yeah, not Jim, not John, but Jay. And I think I always get it twisted. He's the son of John, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So obviously, Macdonald has the Harbaugh history. Like he was the defensive coordinator in Michigan. He, I think, went to the Ravens in 2014 as an intern and worked his way all the way up to defensive coordinator. So I think it's a pretty good fit. But on the other hand, like we talked about all the coaches being let go. I think the special teams fared pretty well under Larry Izzo. So do you agree that there was a change necessary, or would you rather have kept Larry Izzo?
I thought Izzo had done a great. I mean, the Seahawks special teams have been excellent. That's a really good point. I'll be honest, I hadn't thought very much about that. So you're making me think about something for the first time right now. And my initial thought on that is, yeah, I probably would have been cool to keep that guy around. That being said, there's a lot of value and familiarity when you're doing something new. And for him to have had basically his entire professional coaching career done under the Harbaugh umbrella, to have somebody that, you know, has that familiarity, that speaks the same language, is probably my guess is that was a comfort zone hire there. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to Michigan's special teams, but Corbin did, and we talked about it yesterday. He was like, actually, I don't think Michigan's special teams were very good. I thought it was the weak spot of the team. So we'll see. That being said, like, the way that we feel about our special teams, especially now that we don't really have kick returns anymore, comes down to, does the kicker make their kicks, and do you have a good punter? So, like, I don't know how much the coaching on that is going to matter a ton. I think the Seahawks have a pretty good kicker, and I think they have an elite punter, and that will probably make Jay Harbaugh look pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's always the thing with special teams. Like, you always see the kickers, and people get upset of Jason Myers not making kicks and stuff like that. And you have all the punt and kick coverage. I think was awesome in the last couple of years. Like, you have Jarek Reed, who was a 7th rounder last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And he was playing really well as a special teamer, and I think that all plays into it. And but the Harbaugh name is in the building finally, and pretty excited. One other thing you mentioned, or one other person you mentioned, is obviously Ryan Grubb. So. It was pretty wild. So he didn't get the UW gig, and I think it was I don't know if he was necessarily upset, but he was a bit grumpy about it. Went to Alabama with Kalen DeBoer.
That was so weird. That whole thing was so weird.
It was crazy, like standing in front of the donor saying, like, I'm your offensive coordinator. Nothing was declared.
And I believed him. I was like, oh man, I was really hoping. Yeah. Can I tell you guys a story about this?
Yeah, sure.
So the guy I work with for all the cigar stuff that we do, his company is Seattle Cigar Concierge. And he is like insanely tied to the UW football program. In fact, I think he'd be okay with me saying this, but he played for UW in the 90s and has stayed really close with them. And in fact, when Michael Penix beat Texas and they were all smoking those Heisman cigars, he's the one that put that together for Michael Penix. Like, he's in that building, right? So anyway, he texted me out of the blue the day before. Did you guys follow the whole kind of like diner thing where people were like taking pictures of Ryan Grubb and John Schneider and Mik Macdonald at Dino's, right?
Dino's Diner,
The day before that, I get a text. No, that morning, I get a text from my cigar guy, and he's like, hey, just so you know, Grubb is still an option. And I was like, what? Like, oh man, he just went and told $1 billion worth of Alabama boosters that he's the offensive coordinator. And I was like, where are you getting that from? He's like, I just had coffee with the athletic director of UW, and Grubb hasn't signed his contract yet. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Sure enough, like 8 hours later, all these pictures start coming through. And then that night, Bob Condotta says Ryan Grubb is expected to be announced as the offensive coordinator. I was like, that's really cool. Like, turns out my guy knows his shit. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
you have the best connections,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think the buzz is pretty good around because the UW fared really good in the last college football season.
They sure did.
They went to the national championship, and so I think there are expectations, like really with the players the Seahawks got there, and Grubb being here. So I've found it pretty interesting that in his press conference he said the NFL always was his goal, and I think that played into it. Like he got the chance to get the Seahawks gig, and I think he didn't mind. So what can we expect from Grubb, because he also doesn't have any prior NFL coaching experience.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really, really interesting. I think one of the things that is so exciting to me about Ryan Grubb is that he has not run the same offensive system at his various stops, whether it was Eastern Michigan or Fresno State or UW. And in fact, I think he was with, who was the D2 school, or what do they call it? The FCS school that he was with, South Dakota State, maybe, when he was with Kalen DeBoer there. And he's run a different type of offense at each level. So he, like Mik Macdonald, is showing this adaptive ability that I think Seattle's coaches have really struggled with. You know, I'm fond of saying that I think the NFL is the fastest learning organism on this planet. You have 25 coaches spending 60 hours a week grinding tape on the opponents. Like, they're going to figure out your tendencies. There's no hiding tendencies. So you have to be able to counterpunch once they start to run plays, whether it's on offense or defense, that hinders what you're trying to do. You know, yes, there are some schemes like the Shanahan tree scheme that plays fucking everywhere. Like, that shit is so good. And the NFL will figure it out at some point, but they haven't yet. For most schemes, though, you have to be able to adapt. And I really liked Shane Waldron's scheme. I really didn't like that if he went against a defense that was capable of stopping what he wanted to do first, he didn't seem like he had an answer. And with Ryan Grubb, we've seen zone running schemes, we've seen gap running schemes, we've seen power under center running schemes. We've seen more spread type offenses, we've seen more motion type offenses in terms of passing. And the thing that's exciting to me is I think there's a lot of talent over his best offense ever was what they had in Washington this past year. I mean, to lead Division I football in offense and almost win a national championship on the strength of your offense, you could make a case that he was the best offensive coordinator in all of college football. I like that there's a lot of talent overlap at the important positions. I think Dylan Johnson, the running back, profiles very similarly to Zach Charbonnet and how they run. I think that Rome Odunze and DK Metcalf have a lot of overlap. I think Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba are both capable of doing a lot of the inside, outside, back and forth work that Jalen Polk and McMillan did at UW. The question is going to be, do they have the guys up front? Because UW recruited the hell out of the offensive line. They had a borderline NFL offensive line there. I also think that there's a ton of overlap in the strengths and shortcomings of Geno Smith and Michael Penix. I think that they are both elite second and third level throwers. I think that they both have a tough time keeping the ball low when under pressure. And I think they're both just mobile enough, but not enough to scare you with their feet. I think there is a ton of overlap between those two. He's also never had a weapon like Ken Walker, right? I think that Ken Walker is one of the 5 best runners of the football on the planet. And I don't think he's ever had a guy like that before. So that's encouraging. But, Michael Penix had the most time to throw of any quarterback in the NFL or in college football last year. Like, he had all day back there. That is not going to exist in the NFL, and it's certainly not going to exist behind this offensive line as it's currently constructed. So can he adapt? Can he build in quicker reads? Can he build in plays that aren't reliant? I mean, your hash marks in the NFL are a lot closer to each other than they are in college. When you have a big-armed quarterback, you can really take advantage of these giant splits between the end of your offensive line and your closest wide receiver. You don't to the far side of the field if you trust that your quarterback has the zip on his ball to make that throw. Penix has that zip. Geno has that zip. But you don't get – the geometry is different in the NFL. And you can't spread out as much. And your offensive line can't have as wide as splits either because NFL defensive linemen are too good. They'll take advantage of it. They'll go right through it. So to me, it's all going to hinge on his ability to adapt to those things. But the fact that he has had so much success at so many different levels of football, running different offensive schemes, is what's really exciting to me. It makes me think that he can adapt once NFL defenses adapt to what he's trying to do.
Yeah, speaking like you spoke about the skill players, and you spoke about the O-line. The thing that excites me, or I'm looking forward to, that Ryan Grubb didn't come alone. he brought his O-line coach Scott Huff with him as well from UW, and like you said, the Huskies had, I think, probably, or did they have the best offensive line in college football last year? They got Yeah. So coaching wise, the Seahawks should be pretty settled. And do you think that they're, like, with the players you have right now, you got your two tackles in Charles Cross and Abe Lucas. You don't know about Abe Lucas if he's really healthy. Right. I think John Schneider at the combine said, he had stuff worked out, and should be okay, but you don't know. But you have your bookend tackles, but the thing in the middle, in the interior O line, is just laid bare right now.
I think so. Yeah, and I think Abe Lucas is the biggest question mark for this whole team. Mm. When Abe Lucas was healthy, this offense fucking rocked. His first kind of fully healthy game back was that Dallas game where that defense had been playing great, and Geno went nuclear. I mean, DK had his 170-yard, 3-touchdown game against a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Yeah. Against 2 Defensive Player of the Year finalists on that defense, and you could see, oh man, you forget that he got hurt in the first game, and they scored 16 points in the first half of that first game, or 13 points in the first half of that first game against the Rams. And then he's out for 9 games or whatever, 10 games. And the offense stinks. And you're just like, oh, maybe they figured out Geno. And then Abe Lucas comes back and you're like, oh yeah, turns out this offense is still really good. But if Abe Lucas is healthy, then you just got to try and hammer the interior of this offensive line, whether you're spending money in free agency, whether you're drafting those guys. You can't run the same dudes back out there this year.
Yeah. I think you said it all there. I'm pretty excited. I think Thomas is pretty excited as well. And
always.
Speaking about the roster, there was a decision made a couple of days ago.
Yeah, we will stick with Geno. He's our QB1 until he's not, as they said.
Right, yep.
Which means everything and nothing. But to be honest, I'm a Geno believer. I really like his attitude to play. And as we all know, he's a really strong quarterback if he's got the O-line that he's needed. But he also got the most of his guaranteed money. And he's not getting younger. And in every offseason, you can ask the same question. Would you rather go with a first-round rookie quarterback, or would you rather take the time with Geno and wait what's coming on?
I think that what gets lost in this conversation, that's a great question, Thomas. I think that what gets lost in this conversation a lot is people are either pro Geno or anti Geno. But whether you're pro Geno or anti Geno, you have to understand opportunity cost. And if you're pro Geno, like I am, I would like to see him be the starter this year. I think he's that good. Yeah. You have to understand you are missing out on an opportunity to potentially trade up for a young quarterback, or let's say a JJ McCarthy slips down to 16 and you decide, nope, we're going with Geno. There's opportunity cost there. If you move on from Geno, you have to understand what your plan is going to be for replacing that production. The number of rookie quarterbacks, I don't care. You could even look at first overall picks ever. First overall pick quarterbacks. The number of them that have had better seasons than what Geno's done the last 2 years is so small. Your chance of a rookie coming in and even approximating what Geno Smith has done the last 2 years is tiny. So now let's just say you're able to trade up and get the rookie quarterback of your choice. First of all, it's going to cost you your first round pick plus whatever you get for Geno plus. But let's say you're willing to do that. Chances are year one, you're going to get worse quarterback play than you would have gotten from Geno. Sure, it frees up $20 million to do some stuff. You also have a huge dead cap hit if you do that. So now you've robbed from your savings, your draft picks, to go all in on this rookie quarterback. You're probably going to be worse at the position in year one, which means you've wasted a year of Devin Witherspoon's rookie contract. You've wasted a year of Jackson Smith and Jigba's rookie contract. You've wasted the final year of Uchenna Nwosu's contract. You've wasted a year of DK Metcalf's contract. You've wasted maybe the last year of Tyler Lockett's contract. Like, there is huge cost to resetting at quarterback. This roster, in my opinion, is not set up for a teardown. I think that they have rechurned this roster with young, up-and-coming talent, much of which is cheap, to try and win over the next 3 years. And you are probably, almost certainly, setting that timeline back an entire year if you move off of Geno.
Yeah. And I think what always gets lost in the shuffle, and I don't think Geno is rightfully scrutinized or under criticism for the way he plays, because like you said, you can do worse, literally. So Geno, I think he's the 16th highest valued quarterback in the NFL. So he's pretty much smack bang in the middle. And what he gives you there, I think, why do you want to waste it? And like you said, you got the talent right there. So I don't think it's fair towards Geno. I think you could do worse.
Well, I think and by the same token, I think that you can do better. I'm not sitting here saying Geno Smith is the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm just saying you're already enjoying a market inefficiency at the most important position in football. You say he's the 16th highest paid quarterback. He's better than the 16th best quarterback. In fact, we had Steven Ruiz from The Ringer, who I think does the best quarterback rankings in America, and he is Geno 8th. So even if you don't think he's that good and you think maybe he's 10th or 12th, the difference between the 10th best quarterback and the 16th best quarterback is pretty huge. And so if you can pay him like the 16th and get the 10th, that's awesome. You should not be looking to move off of that.
Yeah. Definitely, that's the thing, and you have to build around him. I think you said it with the O-line, and you got the draft coming up.
Yep, the draft is just a few weeks to go. So what would be your priorities? Which would you like to see with our 16th pick overall in the first round? Would you rather invest in the O-line, like it is, maybe the best opportunity with bringing in Ryan Grubb and co, or would you say, no, let's rather go for edge or for linebacker, but the deep in linebacker is not that big this year, I would think so.
Yeah. So, okay. I'll answer this from my perspective, and then I'll try and pretend to be John Schneider. From my perspective, I think that I wouldn't care if they used all 7 of their picks on interior offensive linemen and interior defensive linemen. Like, honestly, if every single pick they make in the draft lines up within 12 feet of the football, I'll be thrilled. Because that's what I wanted them to do last year. And then they leaned into their strengths, right? They already had a good secondary, and they drafted Devin Witherspoon. And that was a home run. And they already had great wide receivers, and they took the number 1 wide receiver in last year's draft class. I still think Smith and Jigba is going to be excellent. And then, but the opportunity cost of that is now they're using, and then they picked a running back in the second round. That is like, you already had a really good running back. And so the fact that they doubled down on the perimeter of their football team with their early draft picks is like, okay, I don't hate any of those picks. But now you have to. Now you have to get in on the ball. You got to have trench dudes. And so that's what I would like to see them focus on. What's cool about this is that this is supposed to be a pretty deep draft. Yeah. Deeper on the offensive line from what I'm understanding. And I'm still going through my pre-draft process and learning about a lot of these guys. But from people who scout these guys year round, you're hearing that the offensive line is deep. I think that there's a lot of talent at the top end of this draft on the defensive line, and then it sounds like it gets pretty thin after that. So if you don't have a second round pick, I think they're going to prioritize re-signing Leonard Williams, and that's your de facto second round pick. I wouldn't mind if they went defense at 16 if there's a guy there. The defensive tackle, Byron Jones, I think is his name, out of Texas, would be my guy. If he's Murphy, thank you. Byron Jones is the defensive back. Yeah. Byron Murphy, thank you. I would love that, something like that. If he's not there and there's an offensive lineman you like, go get it. You just can't have enough of those guys. Like, how many good offensive lines are in the NFL? 5, maybe? Right? Like, it's hard. It's just hard.
Yeah. So you and if like John Schneider did it like his whole career, like the trading down thing is always like almost a meme in the 12s. You don't have a second round pick, so do you think that he's considering going down and getting another second round pick, or getting a second round pick after all? Or do you think, like, if he's going for best player available, I think in the last couple of years, which I like.
I agree.
They always, or they pretty much drafted for needs for a couple of years, and I think that really didn't go well. And so
you said it. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so if the right player is there at 16, do you think they're gonna go for it, or if he's not there, they considering like getting another or getting a second rounder?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so this is a lead into me pretending to be John Schneider. It comes down to I think you have to put your draft board into buckets. Like, certainly you want to have them in order, but I think having tiers is really important. And if you need to figure out how many players in this draft you think are worth the 16th overall pick. And that might be 10 guys, it might be 12 guys. Hell, maybe you think there's 20 guys. And if that's the case, you stick and pick. Yeah. If you think there's 12 guys that you would be happy to take at 16, you have to make a choice. Do I wait and hope that one of those guys falls to me at 16? Do I trade up to try and go get one of those guys? Or if it comes to me at 16 and all 12 of my dudes are off the board, then I am looking to trade back. And I think that when you're missing a second round pick, if you have the opportunity, and let's say you think the next tier, let's say the last guy on your board of dudes that you're excited to draft at 16 goes right in front of you. And then your next tier is 10 dudes. Okay, you can trade all the way back to pick 25 now. Find a trade partner somewhere in there. Pick up an extra third rounder to drop back. And then now you've got 3 third rounders, and you can maybe package 2 of those to move back up into the second round. That's how I would approach it if I was John Schneider. And given his track history, I'm guessing that's how he's going to approach it.
Probably, yeah.
But I think it's all going to come down to, is one of your guys that you're like, yes, I would be excited to take him at 16. Is he there? Other than that, I think that you have to be really open to not just saying, God, I mean, I like this guy, but I only like him as much as the next 9 guys after him. Well, then try and move back and take one of those guys and get an extra third out of the deal.
Yeah.
So my best case scenario would be trade down a little and try to get Troy Fortanu from the O-line. But maybe.
I would love that. And with how deep offensive tackle is, you might be able to do that.
Because I think he, speaking of Troy Fortanu, he played tackle at UW, but
that's right.
Not really the body type for playing tackle in the NFL. I think he would be more suited to play guard, and you have a need there.
Well, and you've got the familiarity with Ryan Grubb. I think that's why you're seeing him mocked to Seattle a lot. And Ryan Grubb will be able to tell Mike Macdonald and John Schneider, yes, I think this guy is capable of playing guard. And when Ryan Grubb was coming up, he was an offensive line coach. He knows how to coach up those positions. So if they take him, I think it will be with the full confidence that, yeah, we can move him inside. And if Abe Lucas isn't right, we can push him back out to tackle.
Yeah. And speaking not only about the draft, but free agency as well is where I think Thomas just gone. I'll continue.
Hey, all right. I hope he makes it back. I like Thomas.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, you got free agency there. Like there's a lot of players like my absolutely favorite player. I think I like you did with writing the article about Pete. I didn't think I cried a little, but I was close to it when Bobby resigned last year or came back from LA, and I think he's Thomas's favorite player as well because funny thing actually, they share the same last name. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So there are no family ties, but I think yeah, it's Thomas's favorite player as well. And like you got people like Jordan Brooks and Leonard Williams and Bobby there, and I think you have pretty much limited cap space. So how would you prioritize these players? Would you bring them back, or would you just go for another free agent? Like Patrick Queen is someone who's talked about a lot because of his connection with Mik Macdonald. But yeah, on the linebacker side, like you don't have anybody right now. I think you got John Radigan, and that's the only one who's on the roster. So Macdonald is a linebacker guy. So do you think one of those guys will be back?
Yeah, so here's how I'd prioritize it. It's Leonard Williams number one, like with a bullet. I think that you gotta go. And a lot of people will say, well, you traded a second round pick, so now you have to. I don't believe in sunk cost fallacy. I don't think that you throw good money after bad. If the price tag for Leonard Williams is higher than what makes sense, I don't think you say, oh, well, it costs a second rounder, we have to do it. You let him walk, you get your third round comp pick, and it's sunk cost, and that's okay. But he's my number one. I'm doing everything I can to sign that guy. Number two is Jordan Brooks. I don't think Bobby Wagner is back unless he's willing to do it on the cheap. And I think there's going to be enough. I think there's going to be a bad franchise out there willing to pay last year's leading tackler in the NFL. A Hall of Famer, bring him in, coach up a young locker room. I could see like the Panthers or somebody throwing a bucket of money at him. So I'm not counting on him back. You can't be replacing both of your linebackers.
Yeah.
And I think that so Jordan Brooks and Patrick, you mentioned Patrick Queen, and he's somebody that you're right has been tied to Seattle a lot in this because of the fact that he's played for Mik Macdonald. Yeah. He was also there's a lot of people on Seahawks Twitter that really wanted Seattle to draft Patrick Queen and were upset that they took Jordan Brooks instead of Patrick Queen.
Back to back, I think.
They were drafted back to back in the same first round of the same year. Yeah. And the thing Patrick Queen is coming off of 2 excellent years in a row because Mik Macdonald has been there. People forget that first year, Jordan Brooks was much better than Patrick Queen was. Yeah. Ravens fans were not happy with Patrick Queen, and their defense stunk. And then Macdonald came in, and him and Justin Matabuke and Jadeveon Clowney has this amazing year.
Ridiculous,
and obviously like Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith, and it's like, oh my God, like Patrick Queen is awesome. Because Patrick Queen has been awesome for the last 2 years, I think he's going to cost more than Jordan Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that he's a better player than Jordan Brooks, and I think they have a lot of skill set overlap. So if I was Seattle, I would take what I assume is someone that's at least 95% of what Patrick Queen is, and you can probably pay him 80% of what Patrick Queen is. Yeah. That's a market inefficiency. I would like to see him number 2. After that, Diggs, then Lockett, but in the same tier.
Yeah.
I think are guys that I think have a ton of value in. I think they have a ton of value in the locker room, and I think they're tougher to replace on the open market than you think. I think Jamal Adams is out of there. I think that's like a guarantee.
Foregone conclusion, yeah.
Yes, but you've got Julian Love, who played really well down the stretch, and you can put him. You got to be careful about creating holes in your roster. No. So I'd like to see Diggs probably my number 3. And then Lockett, I have a lot of faith in Jackson Smith and Jigba to replace Lockett if necessary. But cutting Jamal Adams is going to free up a lot of cap space. I think you can restructure Lockett or Diggs and clear up some cap space. I think you can get 4 of these guys. I don't really care about Will Dissly. I love Noah Fant, but I think he's kind of wasted in Seattle. I think he deserves to go spread his wings elsewhere. Yep. So those would be the top 4 in order. I would go Leonard Williams 1, Jordan Brooks 2, Quandre Diggs 3, Tyler Lockett 4, and then I don't really care after that.
Yeah, I think you with Adams you have to cut your losses literally, because you have to. I think it's 20 million in dead cap, but it's just it didn't work out, and just trying to re-sign him or restructure him and having the risk of like getting injured again. I think it's too great of a risk. Like I think you have Jarek Reed, who's coming back from an ACL as well.
Exactly.
But he impressed me last year on special teams, and I think with the coaching Mik Macdonald has done, like you said, you had Clowney and Madubuike. They weren't these like top tier players that they played last year, but Macdonald has the ability to coach them up, and I think there's a lot of potential there. Like with even Jaron Reed, who didn't play badly last season, but I think he went down with the run defense as well. But I think there's like you said, you stuck the fridge already. Probably the most excited about is Spoon. Because I think Macdonald even mentioned him in his opening press conference, and I think there's so much similarity, not like with the body type, but with their abilities with Kyle Hamilton, and I think that fits really well. So no,
I think that I don't think Seattle's issue on defense was talent. I think they have a lot of really good players. I think Draymond Jones is a good player. I think Leonard Williams is a very good player. I think Boye Mafe has become a very good player. I really like Derek Hall's potential. Uchenna Nwosu was their best player on defense. I think Jordan Brooks is good. I think Reek Woolen is good, even though he had a tough year. I think Devin Witherspoon is excellent. I think Julian Love is good. I think Quandre Diggs is good. There's significant real talent. I think Trey Brown is good.
Yeah.
There's real talent. We didn't even see Kobe Bryant last year.
You got Reek Woolen.
Exactly. So like the talent is there, in my opinion. It was never cohesive. I think Clint Hurt was completely outmatched as an NFL defensive coordinator. And so, okay. You got the pieces, though. Like you said, the fridge is stocked. Yeah. So let's see what a defensive genius can do with these ingredients. Yeah,
I'm so excited. And you said, like, that was the thing I probably was most concerned about, that Chenna just got injured. And I think the whole pass rush collapsed because everybody was focusing on Boye Mafe, and there was not much after that. Like you said, the talent is there, and with the coaching, they didn't maximize this talent. And I think that was pretty evident after Chenna went down. Yeah, man. Looking at the clock, we're almost over an hour. It's like I said, it's awesome to have you. I think Thomas is having struggle with his.
It's okay. It happens to me sometimes too. Honestly,
he's trying. Maybe he'll come back. But just there he is.
Hey, come on, Thomas. Come on, baby.
It's loading. He's not talking to us yet, but
that's all right. Yeah. No, man, this has been really fun. I was excited to have the opportunity to come on. I'm super impressed with how dialed both of you guys are, both you, Jonas, and Thomas, in terms of what you know about the Seahawks, understanding the intricacies of it. I love talking ball, and I get really excited when I talk ball with ball knowers, and y'all know ball. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Like the Seahawks are just like I said, we're one of the biggest booster clubs in Europe.
So tell me about this. So like I know multiple Seahawks fans in the United Kingdom. Yeah. I know that they're big in Germany. Like, granted, I know they played in Germany a couple years ago, but like I think it even predates that. How did you guys end up becoming Seahawks fans? And like, talk to me about them being a big deal over in Germany.
Yeah, I think the stars aligned. I would say, because the Super Bowl was always like on TV here in Germany, but only the Super Bowl, and the TV got into the regular season of the NFL right around when the LOB happened. So the Seahawks we're on TV, free TV here in Germany, pretty much all the time. So yeah, that's when it all started. Like in 2020,
I would have been a Seahawks fan just if I lived in Europe, and all of a sudden I started getting all the games. They were the coolest goddamn team in the league for like 5 years with Marshawn and the LOB and Pete Carroll. Like, they were just cool, man. Michael Bennett, that was awesome.
Yeah, so that's what it all started, like Max.
Okay, love that. Yeah, love that. You got the Sonic shirt on. You're repping hard. I love this.
Yeah, it's huge. So the Seahawks, and the cool thing is, like I said, Seahawks were on TV, and you got all the bandwagon fans. But the cool thing is, people stayed with the Seahawks. Like, we are over 1,800 members right now, and
wow,
so it's just the people stayed with the Seahawks. So it's not just like a bandwagon thing, but we're stuck with them, and we're doing a group travel, group tour every year to one Seahawks game, and we went to the Thanksgiving game last year against the Niners.
You did?
Yeah,
I mean, tough game, but like, cool. Welcome, man. How was it? What was it? What was it like going to a game at Lewin Field?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, a couple of people already like I said, we started the group show, I think in 2017, 2018, something like that. But yeah, the experience was amazing. The game was crap. But it was the Niners, and actually we flew over with around over 100 people from Germany went to the game. Yeah, so
that's amazing. I had no idea. Oh, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, the next time you come over, let me know ahead of time, and if I can, I'll come down. I'll party with you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're already planning our group trip for the 2024 season.
You let me know, man. I'm gonna try and make it.
Yeah. We're going to let you know, and it's just the Seahawks are awesome, and we're not just like some bandwagon fans, but we're stuck with
I can tell. No, y'all know your shit. It's great.
Yeah, so it's awesome talking to you, and for the people who don't know you, where can you find you on the?
I appreciate you asking.
The World Wide Web.
So if y'all are on Twitter, just my name @Jackson Bevins. I spell my name kind of funny. There's no K in it, so JACSON. And you can look me up. Also, Cigar Thoughts. You can look that up anywhere on Twitter. All the podcast networks. The biggest thing, honestly, is the YouTube channel, which is just Cigar Thoughts. Yeah. All of our episodes, a lot of clips, really cool interviews. I'd say the coolest thing about our show is we've been able to get some really amazing guests on that show, and people who are really, really dialed into the NFL and to the Seahawks specifically. And, some of the smartest football minds in the country have been kind enough to come on the show, and we try and keep that consistent week to week. So y'all can check out the show there as well.
Awesome. Yeah. There he is.
Hey! All right. We got him.
Oh, why broke down? Sorry, you guys.
Yeah. I was just talking to Jackson. We're wrapping things up here. So, awesome that you can join us again. And, awesome talking to you. I love it. And if there's ever a chance, you want to come back maybe during the season, something like that,
anytime, fellas. You let me know. I would love to do it again.
We love to have you. Yeah, and wrapping things up like we always do. We say our goodbyes with a go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Touchdown Seahawks!
Weitere Infos zu den German Seahawkers gibt's natürlich auch auf unserer Website unter germanseahawkers.com.